Hello everybody, here we are once again with a Titan Quest video. This time today we are going to talk about Lethal Strike. Why? Because in the latest blog for Titan Quest 2, the developers revealed to us that they are going to bring Rogue Mastery with the early access of Titan Quest 2 when the early access comes out in the future. And they also talk in the blog post about one of the skills of Rogue Mastery, which was Lethal Strike. Here I'm going to show you the Lethal Strike skill in Titan Quest 1, and I will give you a tip for Titan Quest 1 Rogue Mastery in case you are new to this game, and also to showcase how deep this game truly is, because this one tip I'm going to show you is a very good indication that this game has lots of depth despite the simplicity of its, it is not complicated like other games. Like Path of Exile, it has only two masteries that you can select from, the items and the attribute points here. That's it. And some people think that this game is very simple because it has only these mechanics, but the game goes much deeper than that. So, on this character, this is the Stinger build which I created years ago. This Stinger build is all about the Lethal Strike skill. The Lethal Strike skill is down here, this one. I have it 3 times because this one comes from Rogue Mastery. It is this one. It is also maxed out and on +4 totally maxed out, and with the modifier, the add-on. This one is very, very powerful. It is the most powerful Lethal Strike skill I have on this character, but because it comes from the skill tree. But I have 2 times more Lethal Strike. These 2 times come from 2 different weapons. So, I have the Dagger of Dawn which provides Lethal Strike, and on the other slot I have again Dagger of Dawn which provides Lethal Strike. We have 3. This character is all about the Lethal Strike skill, and we can see that we have 3 Lethal Strikes. You can use one Lethal Strike, the other one and the other one. Of course, when you don't hit any target with the skill doesn't go into cooldown. So, this is why we see here that we can keep spamming these skills until we hit an enemy. So these are 3 different Lethal Strikes. This one is, it has this stats only. It comes from the weapon. This one again has this stats that comes from the other weapon. This one is the most powerful, which comes from the skill tree. It is maxed out. The tip I wanted to give to you, and also that showcases the depth of this game. In the Rogue Mastery we have this skill which is called Blade Honing. Also, I don't know how Lethal Strike with all the modifiers and conversions to damage, how is it going to work in Titan Quest 2. This is also a very nice question to have, to keep in mind for the future, for when that game comes out. But here, the Blade Honing is a skill that you activate down here. You can see here that this visual effect shows that the skill is activated. Up here we can see that it is active. And when you activate this skill, it provides the plus 88% increased pierce ratio and piercing damage. The piercing damage is a flat piercing damage that does not get converted by the pierce conversion. But the increased pierce ratio stat, all it does is to, you see on the item it says the damage and then it says 50% pierce ratio. That increased pierce ratio increases multiplicatively, it is a multiplier, the base pierce ratio that your weapons have. Not all weapons have pierce ratio. Swords have pierce ratio, spears, bows, daggers, axes do not have, clubs do not have, of course, pierce ratio, or shields they don't have. So yeah, some types of weapons have pierce ratio, and the pierce ratio of each one of the types of weapons is different. 10%, 15, 25, 50, like this one. So, when you use this one, and this one for example provides plus 88% increased pierce ratio, the 88% increased pierce ratio increases the 50% pierce ratio of this one by plus, it is a percentage, 88%, which means that if it was plus 100% increased pierce ratio, the 50 pierce would be 100% pierce ratio. but because it is 88% pierce ratio, the 50% goes up to about 5, 8, 40, about 90.8% pierce ratio, something like that. Which means that the damage that we deal now, this weapon deals physical damage, 185 damage is always physical, the white numbers on weapons, and the 50% pierce ratio converts the half of that number to pierce, but the conversion to pierce ratio actually takes into account also other stats like physical damage percentage and strength. So it is not just of the base weapon damage. It converts the base weapon damage plus the strength points, attribute points that you get that increase physical damage, plus percentage to physical damage. There are some stats that apply here. Let's forget about those multipliers anyways. Now we have the pierce ratio, this one. And this means that now with the blade honing activated, the attack of this weapon deals mostly pierce damage instead of physical now. If without the blade honing it is, we could say, half physical, half pierce, with the blade honing at level 10 out of 6, 88%, the weapon now deals almost only pierce damage instead of physical and pierce. This means that if you go ahead and you fight against enemies that have super high pierce resistances, although blade honing, take a look here, let's deactivate it. My average damage is 4,378 without blade honing. With blade honing activated, it goes up to 7,535. Not double, but it is almost double. It goes near to double. What does this mean? This means that the increased pierce ratio, this skill anyways, in the right builds, it can increase your damage very much. But still, it is not going to be good enough or good, or even good at all, to use blade honing in cases where your enemies have super high pierce resistances and maybe they also have pierce damage absorption. In which case, those enemies will receive a tiny amount of damage from your attacks because they are not immune to pierce damage, but they receive so little pierce damage thanks to the super high pierce resistances and pierce damage absorption they have, that it feels sometimes like even blade honing is useless against those enemies. I'm going to show you now. Okay, let's activate the blade honing is activated. I will show you this example to understand, and I will tell you something else on top of this one to keep in mind when you play this game. So we have the giant turtles. We hit the turtles, we can see the numbers of damage, white numbers. Most white numbers of damage are very low. Okay, now we got activated the other thing there. Here, under 100. But when we get the battle rage activated, this provides added physical damage, and this is why we deal much more damage now. But when we don't have things like this, blade honing activated, dealing pierce damage to turtles, it takes a very long time to kill a white turtle, a simple turtle. And this is actually an issue. It is an issue against this type of enemies, for example, that have super high resistances to pierce. We can see again that the numbers of damage are very low. If we do, again, the battle rage activated. This one. Chuck. It feels like dealing almost no damage. But if I deactivate the blade honing and I drop my average damage, because without blade honing it goes down, my attacks deal much more damage now. Why? Because, as I said before, now my weapon attacks deal, let's say, half physical, half pierce. The turtles don't have such high physical resistance, they have super high pierce resistance. So, in cases like this, we can see that it also makes sense to activate or deactivate buff or aura type of skills in different situations against different enemies, because they will give you sometimes skills that will give you buffs against multiple types of enemies. It will also, they can be debuffs to you, not to the enemy, to you in cases with other enemies. And you will have to keep in mind these details as well, especially when you theory craft builds. Now, let's activate this skill, Blade Honing, and see what else can we do here. Well, now that I have again Blade Honing activated and my weapon attacks deal mostly pierce damage and a tiny amount of physical only, how can we increase our weapon attacks even against those enemies with super high pierce resist without having to deactivate Blade Honing? Well, the best way to do that is to have some sources of flat physical damage added to your weapon attacks. One of the sources would be this skill, the Battle Rage. This one provides the 91 damage when it is triggered, of course, and with this one you also get a chance to apply this flat physical damage with each one of your attacks when this one is triggered. But this is not the best way to do it, because this one is by chance and it has a cooldown and all of these things. Another way would be to have a Battle Standard. Battle Standard provides this number that we can see, 216 damage. This is always physical, and this is always applied by your melee weapons, not your spells. So, yeah, this also has this one, which is a reduction to the enemies, debuff for the enemy, but it doesn't have a debuff to pierce. But anyways, this one provides the flat physical damage, and now each one of your attacks will get this physical damage added, and they will deal the pierce damage that they deal even with Blade Honing on, and now they will deal that extra physical damage. The extra physical damage, when it comes to pierce conversion, doesn't get converted to pierce. And this is why, give me some turtles. Yeah, we see that the numbers of damage are very low. If I activate Battle Standard, I deal much more damage, as we can see. And Blade Honing is on. Why am I dealing so much more damage? Because the flat numbers of physical damage from external sources do not get converted by the pierce ratio. This is not like the mechanic that converts elemental damage, physical damage to elemental in this game. It works in a different way. If you got to add more damage in cases like this one way is to use also other skills that provide to your weapon attacks flat physical damage, if we are talking about adding physical damage, not another type of damage. Or use weapons, or not weapons, use items in general, artifacts, all types of items of all slots that provide flat numbers of physical damage, or if you got elemental damage or whatever. For example, if I had an item, I don't have an item here. Yeah, I don't have an item equipped that provides flat physical damage right now, but if I had an item equipped that provides, let's say, the artifact Envy of Set of Eternal Embers, which provides 100 flat physical damage to your weapon attacks, that one would work very nicely in combination with the Blade Honing, because that 100 damage wouldn't get converted by this one, by the pierce ratio anyways. So, in cases like this, you can take the damage output of such a character at even higher levels without losing the extra added type of damage. And this way you can imagine, I hope, that this game provides depth in more ways than just having multiple windows of skills and 1000 different skills and 1 billion items and 1 gazillion different attribute points to spend on and all of these things. It doesn't need it. It comes with lots of depth, with stats and synergies between stats and attribute points and everything. And I hope that this is explanatory enough especially for new players of this game. I also hope that Titan Quest 2, with Rogue Masquerade in general, will have an equal amount of depth to this game, because this game is super duper awesome still. And hopefully Titan Quest 2 will be even better, at least when it comes to the depth of the mechanics. Hopefully, we will see. I don't know, but yeah, after the latest blog post with Rogue Mastery, I wanted to show you this thing here. Now, this is the Stinger build of mine. I made this build years ago. This video now is not a build guide video. If you go to watch the build guide video, you can go watch it. We have a build guide video of this build, the Stinger. But I wanted to give to you a tip for damage conversions. We didn't talk, of course, in depth about damage conversions on this video. This is just the tip of the iceberg. So yeah, I hope that makes sense to you guys and you got something to learn new, something new to learn from this video. So I'll be back with you soon with more videos, live streams. If you like the content of this channel, subscribe. Titan Quest 2 is coming and we will make content of that game as well. This turtle has a wish to die. Let's do it this way. Yeah, so that's it. Have a good one. See you again.